Hi, this is Kelly Vandiver with Speaking Practically. A while back I was on Twitter and I saw somebody tweet something about I'm having trouble with the presentation, need some help. Now I had read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, The Thank You Economy. Let's give props to Gary. And one of the things that he talked about in a speech that I saw him give was that he was answering people's questions on Twitter without selling them anything. He was in the wine business, so as people were talking about having what bottle of wine to have with a particular meal, he would jump in and offer his opinion. So I decided to follow Gary's example, and I tweeted back to the gentleman that was looking for help with the presentation. Well, when he sent me a link to the presentation, and what I expected was to see somebody standing in front of an audience on a recording delivering a message, but what I saw was actually a set of standalone slides, and I'll put a couple links below to give you an example of what I mean. It's not the ones that I got the tweet about, but it's a couple of examples. But anyways, it was just some standalone slides that had some words on it that talked about whatever his topic was. And that surprised me because I never thought of that as a presentation. So that got me thinking, what are the myriad of different ways that people can do a presentation? What do you think of when you think of the word presentation? So here's the list of different presentation types that I came up with. So the first type of presentation I think of is just your everyday business presentation. It's one or two people, they're standing in front of a group. It might be somebody within their organization, it might be, for instance, a salesperson talking to a prospect, but it's just one, maybe two people talking to a small group. That's one kind of presentation. Another kind of presentation would be a bigger type venue. So maybe it's just one speaker standing on the stage giving a keynote address, as at a conference or a professional association type meeting. Another way a presentation might take place is that there is an in-person element, one speaker speaking to a group of people, but then they're also streaming that event live. So there's people remotely watching the same presentation that the speaker is speaking at. A variation of that theme would be a speaker speaking to an in-person audience, but also taking in the needs of a remote audience. For instance, the speaker might give an activity for the people in the room to do, and then have a separate activity that he or she would present to the remote audience. So they also had some kind of interaction or activity that they were doing as part of the presentation. There could be a teleconference. That could be a form of a presentation where one or two people are speaking, addressing a group of other people, and that audience may be muted, or they may be able to interact too and ask questions of the speaker. And a little different than a teleconference would be using some kind of a web conferencing tool, so that you have a speaker, and that speaker is addressing an audience, but the audience is generally seeing a set of slides, or if the speaker is talking about a particular software, a particular website, and they're doing a demonstration on how that software or how that website works. That would be another kind of presentation. In those kind of webinar or remote type presentations, you may see a video of the person that's speaking, or you may see a picture of the person that's speaking, or none of the above. The speaker may also see audience members while they're speaking. Just depends on the different software, it depends on the preferences of the speaker, of the audience, etc. But all that grouping there, those are types of presentations too. There are some presentations that are done over the web, but they're asynchronous. They're not done at the same time. They're not a live presentation. In other words, somebody maybe have recorded a session where there was a live audience, or they just recorded themselves talking or having a conversation with one other person, and they pop that up. And that's a form of a presentation too. I think a panel discussion could be a form of presentation if, for example, the panelists have some kind of a prepared statement that they give before they start getting questions asked by the moderator or being asked by the audience. If it's just a panel and they're sitting in a row and the moderator or the or the audience are asking questions, to me that doesn't feel like a presentation as much as a conversation. But if the panelists are doing some kind of a prepared speech before they take those questions, then that's a form of presentation too. Now, some people may argue with me. They may think that a panel discussion is in itself a presentation. So that's where the comment section comes in. I'd like you to comment on that and tell me what you think. Some people may disagree with me on this, but training can be a form of presentation. Now, what I hear from my training comrades is that training needs to be more interactive, it's to learn a skill, it's to get hands-on, and absolutely I agree with all that stuff. But there are times where we're presenting material to the trainees, and it is a form of a presentation too, I believe. And since we're mentioning training, I throw in lecture in there too, such as a college professor lecturing a group or addressing an event. So those are the different types of presentations that came to mind when I think of presentations. But what about you? Are there other ways of looking at presentations? Just like that guy in the tweet who gave me a set of slides and some words that go along with them, and he thought of that as a presentation. Are there other things that you think of as a presentation that I haven't already mentioned here? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please do those thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, and I'm Kelly Vandiver with Speaking Practically.